Nation of Fitin10, welcome to day 16. And yesterday I talked to you guys about the accuracy of your food journals and how important that is. It's one thing to get your logs looking great, but how accurate is it to what you're actually doing? All right, so, I just wanted to bring this up one last time, not one last time, but bring it up again here just briefly, just to emphasize that it matters. It's really going to make a big difference if you're entering foods which tend to be foods I don't recommend. Foods that, restaurant foods or foods that are made that you don't know, what went into them, their conglomeration, and you're picking other entries that reflect it. So you pick an entry in MyFitnessPal, like, I don't know, what's an example? Okay, so this is not picking on anybody in particular, because I see this a lot with people. Quiche, for example, okay? There's gonna be a wide spectrum of different quiches out there, depending on what goes into them. So just picking a quiche from MyFitnessPal and throwing it in, and then on top of that, kind of estimating the size. I mean, could be anything. It could be 200 calories, it could be 600 calories, or more, perhaps. It really depends. So it's just complete guessing. And just be careful with this because, like I said, it's not, if you keep doing stuff like this, then the accuracy of your calorie intake and macronutrient intake, more specifically, is just gonna be off. It's just gonna be way off. We're not really gonna know what's going on. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So again, I'll say it one more time, just be careful with your, like I said, it's one thing to get like those numbers looking really good in your food journal, but does it actually represent what you had? Those are two different things, right? So we gotta be really, really careful with this. All right, great question about why do we do intervals for cardio? All right, and listen, intervals are not the end all be all. You can do steady state cardio. That is cardio just where you bring your heart rate up to a certain level and just maintain it. The reason why I have you do intervals, well, there's a couple of reasons why I have you do it. Number one is it kind of breaks up your cardio. So it makes it a little bit less monotonous. I find, maybe this is not the case for everybody, but I find that, if you've got these periods where you got to work hard for a little bit and then you got to bring it down, these changes make your cardio go by faster, especially as I increase the number of intervals. That period of total intervals increases, and that makes your cardio seem a little bit faster. So that's great and everything, but the other reason I do it is to institute a little more of what we call this EPOC, right? This excessive post-oxygen consumption. This excessive post-exercise oxygen consumption. It just basically means your body has to, when you elevate your heart rate really high, which is what I'm asking you to do in your intervals, maybe not so much in the beginning of the challenge, but as the challenge goes on, I'm gonna get you to, go harder. This taxes different energy systems. Okay, so you can kind of think about this as like we got basically three. I'm trying to make this as simple as I can. Just think when your heart rate is lower, you are, demanding a different energy system. We call it oxidative. But when you are demanding a lot of energy per unit of time, all right, so you're lifting something really heavy or you're sprinting really fast in the case of intervals. Okay, moving really fast. We have to demand a lot of energy quickly. We dive into different energy systems, and those energy systems, once we dive into them, obviously we can't sustain a high energy system for very long, right? Hence why the intervals are short. But in doing so, we demand that the body has to do, or we demand of the body a bunch of stuff, a bunch of extra work that the body has to do to recover after performing those. Just simply because we've delved into those different energy systems, okay? And again, we call this, or one common term. There's a couple different terms out there. One common term for it is EPOC. And so you might hear that EPOC raises your metabolic rate. And this is true. So raise your metabolic rate after doing it, at least to some degree, because the body has to, for example, return. For example, it's got to replenish the ATP stores. It's got to replenish glycogen. It's got to do some recovery of your nervous system, some recovery of your musculature, etc. All these processes going on require extra energy. So there's all this stuff going on afterwards, and this stuff is energy requiring, all right? So this just means that this is an elevation in your metabolic rate, all right? So whenever we're asking the body to do extra stuff, there is a raise in the metabolic rate. So every time you eat, your body has to break that down. There's a raise in your metabolism, right? So, because the body's got to do stuff. Now, this doesn't mean eating is going to make you lose weight, okay? Because obviously, the energy that we get from the food versus the energy that it takes to digest it, the energy intake is always going to be higher than what it takes to digest it, okay? But the point is whenever we're demanding the body to do stuff, that is in and of itself an elevation in metabolism. You know, when you exercise, you elevate your metabolism on demand, because the body has to do some other stuff to fuel whatever it is that you're doing, right? So anyways, I don't want to go into, I guess, too much detail in this, but just think that as a result of going extra hard, especially as these intervals get harder and I take your heart rates higher and you have to expend more energy, and we dive into more of this ATP and glycolytic energy systems, these other energy systems, the body has to do a bunch of stuff afterwards to recover, and this stuff is, as I mentioned, metabolically demanding, okay? It requires extra energy. So there's this afterburn effect, okay? So I hope that wasn't too boring, or I don't know, hopefully I explained that well enough. I mean, I could go into more detail, I suppose. I definitely have to review probably some notes and stuff, but that is the gist of it, okay? So nothing wrong with steady state. Steady state's gonna be more oxidative. It's not gonna require so much recovery afterwards, or any recovery for that matter. We're burning more fat in oxidative. When we do more interval based, we're burning more ATP and glycogen. And that's not to say that intervals do not burn fat. They do. Okay, so anyways, that's a separate topic, but all right, so there you go. That's why we do intervals. All right, let's get to the message of the day. Where is my message of the day on this day 16? This is just a reminder for you that this is you versus you. Focus on yourself. And, maybe you're comparing yourself. Maybe you're not, hopefully you're not, but maybe you are. And I just want to remind you that you'll always find somebody who you think is better than you, or who you think is more gifted than you, or who you wonder, perhaps maybe you wonder why you can't achieve what they're achieving, although I think you can. But the point is it doesn't really matter, because this is really about you and what you are after. So that's what you need to do. You need to kind of keep those blinders on and focus on improving yourself, and look for the areas that you can make better, right? Look for the areas where you can improve. Can you improve on your diet? Chances are you can. Can you improve perhaps on your level of focus in the gym? Perhaps the level of intensity that you're putting into your exercise? Can you improve on maybe the preparation of your food, right? How about the planning of your schedule in general? Okay, look for these areas where you can improve, so you can get better, and then you'll actually be putting your energy into an area where you see the benefits, rather than just focusing on other people. Not saying you are, but maybe you are. It's common. So I'll say it one more time. This is you versus you. Focus on yourself, and that's really all that matters. everything else is not really going to help you, right? Focusing on other things is not going to help you. You got to focus on yourself. Figure out or focus on the things that you can improve upon, right? Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, and for the love of God, give some gratitude, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow. See you guys.